the last drop. Are you gonna blow your head off? Take good aim and don't forget to duck. Life sucks every Monday and all the way to Sunday, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I don't care how you're doing, what's up or how's it hanging. I'd like to buy this world one last drink. And life sucks all of the time, so stick it up your sunshine, and then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day.
Welcome to the Crazy Life, everybody. This is a special episode because I am actually in the Shameless Plug studio. So, yeah. And, of course, I have Bryan with me, as always. Hey, Bryan.
Howdy.
Thank you for inviting me into the studio.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I appreciate it. Classy place that it is.
Yeah. Totally professional.
For those of you who don't happen to follow Salty Language, this is the Salty Language studio. And that's Bryan's other podcast and all that good jazz. So instead of me relaxing and lounging on the couch with my phone and doing recording via Skype, I'm actually in the room with Bryan, and I have a big old mic in my face with a big old mic stand. So it's a little bit odd for me.
This is from when we break down the acoustic set.
Yeah, exactly.
Like we're doing the VH1 Storytellers episode. We're gonna play a song, then we're gonna tell a story, answer a question.
Yeah,
cool.
The basics.
I joke about that. If I played guitar at all, that would be a great podcast to do.
Yes.
Like, seriously, because with you singing and me would just do a real short song or something and then just, go back to a story, or it would just be kind of funny to do on the cuff, and do it live.
That would be pretty awesome.
Yeah. Henno, there's an idea for you.
There you go, Henno.
Yeah.
Find yourself a good singer.
Right.
Or maybe sing yourself. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, he certainly could.
There you go.
I hear he can sing, as evidenced by our intro song.
Yeah. Maybe. I don't know. Just kidding, of course. He's very incredibly talented. But, and for first-time listeners, I'm Jen. I didn't introduce myself. Like I said, I'm a little bit discombobulated. That for a big word.
I was thinking of something, too, that we don't do on the show. Even though we usually bring it up, then we should probably mention. It almost feels like, even though you kind of hate to say it every time, it almost seems like it should be like I'm Bryan. I have depression and anxiety issues. Mm-hmm. This is Jen. She has bipolar and anxiety issues.
Like an AA meeting.
Well, no, it's just kind of if it's somebody's first time listening.
True.
That way they know what we're bringing to the table. I guess whatever.
Exactly. Our fabulous experiences with randomness.
Our air quote qualifications.
Yes.
Credentials.
Very qualified bipolar person. So, speaking of which, I know we've been talking about my
that's a t-shirt. I'm qualified bipolar.
Sorry if I spiked the...
Oh, I'm sure... Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Right
I spiked the spiked the mic. But, I've gone back on Abilify. So, to kind of help even things out as silly crazy as I've been getting lately.
Out of curiosity, how long were you off of that?
Over a year.
Over a year? Okay.
Yeah.
So you went back to the doctor and...
No.
No? You just had a refill and you called it in? Or?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Well, basically my doctors and I, we don't really communicate anymore other than through my pharmacist.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, I still have yet to go see them. But
that was why I was asking.
Yeah, I haven't... I didn't have any refills left on the Abilify, but I called it in, and they called my doctor. My doctor was like, yeah, what the hell, she can have it. So,
all right, fair enough.
Yeah, so pretty much, because he tried me on something else that, Latuda, I want to say, or maybe that's a sleeping medicine. I don't know.
I don't know.
It was one of those that's all over the TV right now. He tried me on that, and that made me violently nauseous. So,
Nice.
like,
Yeah.
almost instantaneously, violently
Wow.
nauseous. So I'm like, yeah, that's not working.
Yeah, certainly not.
It's like,
Yeah.
that's not going to happen.
Right.
So Abilify has a tendency to make me a little sleepy, which I sleep a shit ton anyways.
Yeah.
Excuse language, but I sleep a lot. And when I'm Abilify, I sleep a lot more.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that all kind of adjusts. But
Yeah.
on the good news, the medicine that one of the medicines that I'm on, because I'm on Wellbutrin, and Wellbutrin actually is an appetite suppressant. And so for the first like 6 months or so you're on Wellbutrin, it's an appetite suppressant. Then your body adjusts to it, and it's not so much an appetite suppressant anymore.
Right.
So you kind of have to go off of it for a few days, and then you can go back on it, and then all of a sudden it's the appetite suppressant again. Not recommending this, folks.
Yeah, absolutely
Just
not.
saying.
Yeah.
Not recommending it.
Right.
Just saying this is how it happens.
Yeah.
And I'm also on a vitamin that is also an appetite suppressant. And so, yeah, I've lost a lot of weight.
Well, see, you should have stuck with the one that made you violently nauseous. Then you would have been all set.
Then I've been all set.
Yeah.
No. First, can't operate violently nauseous. That's one thing I can handle. Headaches, I can handle just about anything.
Yeah.
Nausea, I am a big-ass baby. Big baby. Sorry, folks. My language has been really, really, really bad the last week or so. So I apologize if I drop anything that I shouldn't.
Yeah.
But, so I have lost, quite a few pounds, and which is good. But now I'm hitting my platform again, the
Plateau.
plateau.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I was going for.
Like platform, huh? You do some diving, or
Yeah, maybe a Greg Louganis.
Yeah. That's a terrible idea. No, it worked out for him.
Yeah,
He did all right.
He did all right until the head thing and
Yeah.
the AIDS thing.
Right.
Yeah, there's ups, there's downs, right?
Yeah.
But oh man, I'm sorry, folks. We're being really, really bad.
This is terrible.
This is horrible.
I refuse to be any part of the show anymore.
horrible people. So yeah. So I don't even know where I was going with that. Oh, plateau. That's why.
Yeah.
So I finally hit the plateau. So now I've got to re-examine the eating behaviors and stress eating and anxiety eating. And we're coming up on my favorite holiday of all times. And I do not say that sarcastically. I say that truthfully.
New Year's Eve.
That too. No. Christmas. Christmas is coming. Goose is getting fat. Put another nickel in the old man's hat. All right. Sorry.
Wow.
I know. Had to go there.
I was with my mom today, and we were at Walmart. There's the Salvation Army bell ringers going on right now, and most of them honestly look like they couldn't be more miserable. They look like they're doing community service.
Yes. Which they are.
Yeah, some are. Yeah. And anyway, this guy that was outside this Walmart today was singing basically to the tune of Happy Birthday, but it was Happy Holidays. He was like, Happy Holidays to you. Happy like it was.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and he just he just kept singing it and stuff, and it was it was just kind of funny because, like I said, most of the times people look like they could not be more miserable doing that. And, don't get me wrong, I don't know that I could stand there ringing a bell all day either. It would drive me crazy. But, it was just kind of funny. This guy looked like he was having a good time with it, which you don't see often.
Sure.
And I was like, and my mom's like, they got the right guy doing that. I'm like, yeah, they do. Like, he is like, well, this is the situation I'm in. Whether it's his choice or it is a community service thing, it's, he is making the best of the situation no matter what, which is, awesome. And I'd almost be willing to bet that he gets more money put in that bucket than a lot of people will, because people are in a good mood walking by him, versus most of the time it's just that bing, 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 bing,
Right. Well, I was actually asked to do that. But I was asked to do that on the island on Put-in Bay.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, which, for those of you who don't know what Put-in Bay is an island in Lake Erie that is pretty much bar on top of bar on top of bar on top of bar.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty much drunk haven.
That's really,
And
from my experience there, that was pretty much all I really noticed was bar after bar after bar. Yeah.
There's fishing and a few other things that you can do around there. I mean, it's a very nice island, but
a lot of it centers around drinking.
Yeah. So, and they asked me to do the kettles, in the middle of July. It was like Christmas in July or something, to do the kettles over on the island. And all I could think of, I'm like, yeah, I'll be like at the kettle with a drink in one hand and bringing, hey guys,
They probably don't allow that, I'm guessing.
Probably not
Also,
so much.
I kind of wonder how much money you get from that, because, drunk people tend to be very giving, but at the same time, it's a real tough road, because on one hand, beers are insanely expensive there. Drinks are not cheap in that place, because everything has to be brought in.
Yes.
So they charge you an ungodly amount of money for beer and stuff, which is, it's unnecessary. They charge way more than they need to. But anyway, so everything's overpriced. Plus, it's it's a tourist place, so you're gonna get trapped no matter what. But it just kind of makes you wonder how many drunks are like, yeah, if I put money in there, that's one less drink I'm having, or versus I shouldn't say drunks, anyone drinking, but versus oh yeah, we'll throw or how many people look at it and go, it's July, is this a scam?
Right. Where'd you get that kettle from?
Yeah. I need to see some credentials here. Hey, I'm qualified bipolar.
Exactly. Can't you read the shirt? Duh. Yeah. So, but yeah, I don't even know where we're going to. Christmas singing, all that good stuff. Before we go on to the topic of the day, how has your week been?
Yeah, not good.
I'm sorry.
I mean, we talked a little already about this, but I've had Christmas as always, and I think I don't know if we haven't been doing the show long enough. I was like, did I talk about this last year? I was like, no,
nope.
We didn't do a Christmas show last year. Christmas is really difficult for me, and it has been ever since I lost my dad. It just doesn't feel right anymore, and I'm thankful for what I still have in my life and everything, but it's just, it's just, I don't know. It's just, I don't really have anything to get that enthused about. I don't have anybody I'm buying gifts for. My dad's not there, so it doesn't, even with all the family together, it still doesn't feel whole. It's a really weird time for me now. Like, I'd almost just as soon move past it. Like, it's so, I hate to even be that way. It's not like I'm bah humbug about it. It's just, I'm like, I'm like, yep, it's Christmas, or holidays time, whatever, it's just like, yeah, let's just move on.
And guess what our topic is today?
And on top of that, it's just, I've had some other stuff, that I'm not going to get into on here that just kind of have been, I've had a few things that just feel like a kick in the pants on top of a kick in the pants. And then I, didn't feel good and had to cancel my last therapy session, and then realized that it was 2 weeks ago that I went, and it got canceled, or I canceled it, and the next appointment I could get was January 11th. So it's going to be a month and a half almost between my visits, which will be great for the conversation, but you only have so much time. So it kind of, it's almost, you get like a choke point on your therapy now, because instead of doing the stuff we were going to do in the next one, I'm going to want to talk about this month, basically, and that's going to put it off again. It feels like kind of moving backwards for...
I honestly think you should go more often than you do. I think you should try to go once a week, and then you can always go backwards.
Yeah, I know.
If it's too much, then you can always go backwards.
Well, the thing is, most of the time I don't do a lot through the weeks, so if I go once a week, it's...
I think you got enough stuff in your history that you can work through.
Well, that's the thing, though, is by going to a psychologist, they aren't so much going backwards into your history. They're looking for behaviors and how to help you change your behaviors. With a psychiatrist, they would go more into your upbringing, and that's more of the
certain psychiatrists,
right? And that's the thing. It just depends on the type of therapy that they want to do.
Yeah,
like this therapist doesn't ask me a lot about backwards. She asks me now, You know, what are
Yeah.
you doing now? Or where did that start? That kind of a thing. That's about as far, you know, she doesn't like, oh, have you always, you know, like, what about when you were a kid? But we don't go there very much. So,
And I can see that. Because,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there's things to be gained from going that far back to a certain extent.
Yeah.
But the majority of what's important is stuff that's probably happened fairly recently.
well, and realistically, you know, she wants to know, like, if you go in and say, this, I feel depressed, she's going to say, well, why? And, you know, even if you've been depressed for 25 years, she's wanting to know why now. Like, what is it that's causing it now? So she can go, okay, well, here are things, here are, you know, this is important, breathing is important, or this is important, or whatever, you know, to make sure you're doing these, and then maybe here's some other techniques, or, you know, that's kind of the thing. I think it's to try to get you good now, and then eventually maybe you can go into some other, but if you get to good, you may not need to go backwards. Some people just need to get back on even footing, and I honestly think that's where I am.
Right.
I need to get to where I feel like I'm not drowning. You know, if I feel like I'm standing on the edge of the river instead of neck deep in the river, that's a huge difference. You know, so that's kind of my goal in therapy at the moment, is to feel good now, and the rest of it, I honestly think if I can get to where I'm feeling okay about where I am, I think I can move forward. I don't think I know I've been a guy who obsesses on backwards and forwards thinking, but I think if I can just get to where I'm good now, I can just move forward without a lot of issue.
That would be cool.
You know, and I think that's what we're doing. But anyway, you know, so missing that makes a significant difference.
Absolutely.
You know, because it's an outlet. And even though I have this and I have salty language and stuff, it's still, you know,
It's
like I've
different.
said before, it's not the same. So, you know, and it's just, like I said, I don't want to go into a whole lot, but because there's just some of it that I'd just rather not discuss. But it's just, you know, I'm finding myself not being able to get out of bed, just wanting to sleep the day away because it's the only reprieve I have from being depressed, basically. You know, it's awful. It's just awful. And I know I've moved backwards.
Yeah.
And it's such an awful feeling to when you know you're taking baby steps forward, any backslide feels like an avalanche. You know, like, and it's not, but it feels like it, you know, because you had to fight so hard to get an inch forward, you know, and you feel like even if you get pushed back that inch, you feel like you've gone feet, you know.
But it's so funny because you are so engrossed right now in where you're at as far as being is in your depression, that you aren't recognizing some really amazing things that have happened.
Right, which is the nature of the beast. Yeah.
And one thing that you mentioned to me before when we were talking, you mentioned that your best friend, you know, Tony, wanted you to come hang out. You weren't feeling good. You had a headache. Said, I have to bow out on this one.
Yeah, real quick, I want to point out migraine, not headache.
Okay, I apologize.
Yeah.
Appropriate words.
Yeah.
You know.
I just want to point it out because I
Yes.
don't want to make it sound like I'm like, oh, my head hurts.
No,
And, you know,
you're right.
No, it was
like, you had migraine.
yeah, almost in tears type pain. So, yeah.
So he didn't want to go. So you laid down, got up, you felt better. You went out anyways.
Mm-hmm.
And in my history with you,
Yeah.
that is not traditional Bryan behavior.
No.
That is actually pretty far from
Yeah.
traditional Bryan behavior.
Right.
But the fact that happened is huge, especially right now when you're in the midst of one of the deepest depressions you've been in a while.
Yeah.
You know, that still happened.
Yeah.
So
Well-
I don't
well,
glass over
No,
that.
it's, you know, we talked before about, you know, how, like,
Yeah.
you have those days where you won't do anything, and
Yeah.
then there'll be one day where you do all the things.
Yes.
You know, so there is always that, but you're right, in my history, that's not, usually once I say no, that's the end of it, and I don't generally I generally don't put any effort into going back. Like, once I'm like, I'm not going, and honestly, I think a lot of that has to do with not driving. You know, in a lot of ways, because some of the stuff that people go do, I'm like, I don't want to ask somebody to take me. So I'm just like, I'll just stay home. And that has happened where there have been times where I've thought about going to something and I'm like, yeah, but they're downtown or they're out on an airport, you know, and it's like, I'm not going to ask somebody to drive me all the way, you know. So, but yeah, you're right. It is a significant thing, you know, and But it's so hard to see. It's the old forest through the trees thing.
Right.
You're just so mired in everything. You can't.
And it's so easy to discount and to brush aside or to justify it away as, it's no big deal.
Yeah.
Versus, accepting it for what it is and owning it and claiming that win and saying, it is a big deal. For this moment in time, for me, this is a big deal.
Yeah.
And
it's funny, too, because,
awesome.
I don't, as much as Tony and I put on the bravado on Salty Language, it's like, I am not a braggadocious person.
Right.
I do not brag myself up. It doesn't matter what it is, back when having a 200 average in bowling was really good and I carried a 200 average kind of a thing, I would just be like, I'm okay, kind of a thing.
Right.
And it was all about, and I know what it is, it's all about setting low expectations. That's the thing is, if I set the bar low, I can't disappoint you as easily as if I set it high, which is a terrible way of looking at it, because when you do that for others, you're also doing it for yourself. It's like our buddy Chris that plays Magic the Gathering. Back when Tony and I had the shop, and one of the guys was going to the state championships, and for the state championships, there's hundreds of people that show up, and this guy was like, I just hope I make top 8. And Chris is like, top 8? He's like, he's like, I'm going to win. He's like, why wouldn't you go to win? He's like thinking any differently. He's like, why would you be satisfied with top 8 when you're going to win, kind of a thing. And he, there's a great point in that. And it isn't that, well, I mean, Chris took second, but, but it's still the fact that, that's true though. If you go in saying, I'm going to do this, I'm going to conquer this, I'm going to win, you're going to have more confidence doing it. Whereas if you're going in, top 8's okay. Maybe when you get to the top 8, maybe, and all it is you're setting the bar low because you don't want to get anxious about whatever, versus Chris, where anything but winning to Chris is a disappointment, but not in a beat himself up kind of way. Just I went to win. I took second. All right, I did all right. That's more of his attitude. And I would much rather have that attitude than the top 8 is okay.
I think there's also the perceived emotions that we portray put on other people, which is, if I say that I'm going to win, what you must think of me. Yeah. And if I don't win, what you must think of me.
Well, that's like with Pate or Chris, people are always, he's so cocky. And I'm like, no, he's not. I'm like, go look at his record at states. Yeah. That dude top 4s almost every year he was going, like year after year. He was like top 4, top 8. I was like, first of all, he has a reason to be confident. Second of all, again, it's a great mindset. Winners don't walk in. Like, go ask any of these UFC fighters. Hey, do you want to just go have a good fight, or do you want to win the fight? None of them are going to say, well, I just hope it's a good fight. They're going to win. They prepare to win. They are not preparing for, well, I hope it goes to time, and then the judges recognize my hard work.
Exactly.
That is not the game plan.
So, as we've said over and over and over again, it is not easy. It is not intrinsic, natural for many people. In fact, I would even hazard to say most people. It is not easy to claim those wins, to be proud of the things that you do accomplish, and not be ashamed to say it. Yeah. Be proud. If you're good at something, be proud. You make a good decision or something positive happens, be proud.
Think about how many musicians have you heard say, I play a little bit.
Yeah. Artists all the time say, it's not bad. Yeah. It's just, that false bravado, or not false bravado, the opposite of that. The modesty and humility that we tell ourselves is important is not so much.
Well, think about it this way. When we had Heno on, remember, Heno talked about taking a compliment and how difficult it was for him to just accept a compliment. And then as we talked to her, like, wow, I never thought about how much of a jerk you kind of are in a way toward the other person if you basically discount your ability, because they're telling, like, wow, I draw something for somebody and they're like, wow, this is amazing. And I'm like, it's all right. artists are always their worst enemy, blah, blah. You know, you can put a bunch of plaques up with this
But you're
platitude.
criticizing their opinion.
But you're basically going, you have no taste, or your taste is you know,
Right.
kind of. That's I mean, I'm putting it in a very like jerk-like manner, but
Right.
but it's kind of true, you know. And like just like with music, you know, somebody tells you can sing, or they really like the song you did, and you're like, it was all right, you know, like I've done better, or whatever. And it's like you're dumping on, and like Heno said, it's like you just got to say thank you. And it's so difficult, but that's the attitude. And that carries over into the other stuff is, again, to be more accepting with this. They actually talk about this on the new Angela's Awesome podcast, being accepting, you know, and how difficult it is. And, you know, that's kind of where I've been for a long time, because for art, for the longest time, nothing irritated me more than people telling me that they liked my art.
Yeah.
Which is weird, you know. Most people, they do something, they want the pat on the back, the hey, attaboy, you know, and I'm like, leave me alone.
It's like, don't mention it, please.
Yeah, just
let's not talk about it. Let's just pretend it doesn't exist.
Well, and the reason I didn't want to talk about it is all I would do is pick holes at it.
Yep.
I would pick every hole there is to pick at everything, and I always have. I've done that since I was a little kid. You know, when I knew better, if mine didn't line up with what I saw on TV when I was watching, what was that guy's name? Commander Mark, I think it was.
Yes.
On PBS. You know, when I watched him and I draw with him on TV, and I'm like, this doesn't look the same. And it's like, well, of course it doesn't. He's put hours of work into drawing.
Yeah.
This is a guy who draws as a professional. You're a kid, first of all. Second of all, you haven't put anywhere near the hours in that he does. But you don't see that when you're a little kid.
Right.
Now I at least see it. If I try to draw the same thing that various artists draws and I fall, far below them, I at least go, well, they've put in, tons of work and I haven't, you know.
In individuality. It's something
Also
we completely discount when it comes to things of artistic nature. The individuality of it is, you don't want to draw exactly like him.
No.
You don't want to sing exactly like your favorite singer.
Yeah.
You want to emulate them.
Yeah.
You want to take aspects of it that you find desirable and incorporate them into what you do. But you cannot be exactly and do things exactly the same way.
Well, that's
it's
why
not going to happen.
A lot of like comic book artists, once they have a certain technique down, a lot of times they won't share it with other people. Most of what they do, they will tell you, this is how I block out a page.
Yeah.
This is what I do for this. Here's the tools that I use. Because, tools don't make the artist. I can hand you the greatest guitar of all, and you can still be a terrible guitarist.
Right.
Same as you can give me the best art supplies in the world. Doesn't make me Adam Hughes or this various comic artist that you love or something, But there are some artists that they absolutely won't share their technique because that technique gets them work. Mm-hmm. So if they give away the technique, other people can start stealing their work, basically. Mm-hmm. And when I first heard it, I was like, wow, what a jerk thing. Because most of the time in the art community, it's pretty open and sharing. And then when I thought about it a little more, I was like, that actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I cannot blame them for that at all. Like if I were a musician and I had a way to make a guitar sound a certain way, I don't know that I'd be real hip to share that with somebody. Mm. I don't know how I could, but you know what I'm saying? If there was some way you could distort it a certain way and,
Well, I mean, it's just, there's different ways and different things that you can do in the way you look at things that makes it an individual and makes it your stuff.
Yeah.
And it's tough to honor that. And it's so strange going into situations that are uncomfortable and new. Mm-hmm. It just is. Especially when you try so hard and so long and for the majority of your life to control situations and to prepare yourself and to overanalyze and, overanalyze every little aspect of it.
Yeah.
When you're going into places and situations such as putting yourself out there with your art, it's very new. It's very fresh. You don't know how to react. You don't know what's appropriate reactions.
Yeah.
And it is very incredibly hard.
Well, any creative endeavor, you put yourself in such a vulnerable position.
Yes.
And I don't care if you're doing poster boards for your office meetings or if you're doing like billboards for a Nike.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Anytime you put your ideas
you
out there. Yeah.
You are laying yourself right out there for everyone to go, that is horrible. You know, it's why the hardest thing for most of the people when I was in school for design, most of the people hated the critiques.
Sure.
Because when we turned in an assignment, you had to stand in front of the class, basically, not in all of them, but in, you know, a lot of them, you had to, like, stand up there with your work, and everybody in the class, like, you stood up, you gave your artist statement, which I've said countless times on Salty Language Wars, 99% bull.
Right.
And anyone who doesn't believe me, I don't have a link for it. There's an artist statement generator or something like that on the internet you can find. And if you type something in, it's so good. And anybody who's been in an art school will look at this and go, like, you almost go, man, if that was there when I was in art school, I might just let this thing write it for me. Because it is. It's mostly just baloney. It's baloney, and you throw in some vocabulary words, and that pretty much is what it is. Yeah. But everyone gets to ask you questions. And most of the time, it's respectful. It's supposed to be respectful, you know. But sometimes the questions that get asked are not mean or hurtful, but you may take them that way.
A little bit pointed.
Yeah, because somebody will all but say, that's hot trash. Why did you put up such garbage? You know? And it's really difficult to do. Like, and the worst part is once you're up there and then you sit down and that person goes up to do theirs, then you have to be an adult too and not, you know, and not be like, oh yeah, well, your face, you know.
You suck.
Yeah. Boo! As they're walking up. I mean, yeah.
Well, it's not too far off then having to do yearly reviews through works and stuff.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure a lot of people are coming up on that. I'm sure I am. So we'll see, you know, with all the fun that I've been having with my job this year, I can only imagine how delightful that meeting's going to
now,
be.
See, in my head, your meeting is going to go just like a meeting with the Bobs from Office Space.
Yeah, pretty much.
And you're just going to be, you know, like, I just don't feel like working.
So, yeah, so it's going to be interesting. Because even to this day, it's so funny because I've got myself in such a position, or they've put me in such a position, combination of both, I'm sure, more than anything. I'm in the situation right now that even when I have the answer, no one wants to hear my answer.
Yeah.
So it's like, I have the answer. I can make your life easier. And people don't even want to own up to the fact that I could know anything.
Yeah, that's a tough spot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's a combination. You know, I own my parts to it as well. But, you know, it's tough because it's like, yeah, I kind of know how to make your life easier and stuff.
Yeah.
And they're like, nope, we don't want to hear it. We already know.
Yeah.
It's like, but if you know, why aren't you doing
I learned that
it?
in a kind of a different way. Like, I learned that going from working at Hollywood Video to working at Family Video. Because when I went into Family Video, you know, I had come from the #2 retail video chain. Now I'm coming to, like, the #1 independent chain, and they run things totally different because, you know, whatever. And there were different things that they did that in my head I'm going, this is not efficient. Like, the way it was done at Hollywood is more efficient, and I would, you know, be like, why don't we do it this way? And I learned within a couple weeks that they don't care. Like, they didn't want to hear it.
Yep.
This is the way we do it. We're not them, so we're doing it our way. And in my head, it you know, it turns into, it's like, well, if someone presents you with a better way, why would you ignore it? But they didn't want to hear it. So I learned really quick, just shut your mouth, do what they want you to do, and learn this is how it's going to be done.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating, but that's, you know.
And I struggle with it. When something is not, and I'm not the most logical person in the world. I'm a very emotional person, as most people could attest to. But I still have a very, very, very strong, stubborn logic stretch to me that when something, I cannot wrap my head around the logic behind something, it's almost like having sand in your shoe.
It is, yeah.
You know, I can't tolerate it. I try so hard, but then I get to a point where I just have to scream. It's like, no, this doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
This makes no logical sense whatsoever.
Right, and it's like, here's a simple solution,
Right.
but you won't let me do it.
Yeah, this is dumb.
Right.
There's no reason why
Yeah.
we shouldn't be doing it this way.
Yeah, and in our heads, it feels like, you know, something's on fire, you're looking at a fire extinguisher, and
Yeah.
instead they're bringing you Dixie cups of water.
Yeah.
And you're like, but no, this is the way we do it here. And you're like,
Yeah.
but, no.
Exactly. And
You
it's
know.
so hard.
Yeah.
You know, and, you know, it just, so It is. It's.
But really,
tough.
do you know what that comes into almost, to bring this back to the, like, a distorted thinking kind of a mindset?
Absolutely.
Is realistically, this is something you can't control. Mm-hmm. So using that kind of a tool, you would be told basically, let it go. Because you can't control that.
And they keep telling me that, like, you just gotta let it go. You gotta let it go.
Yeah, and they're right. But the problem with that whole technique is it's like I've heard, like, my therapist told me that too the one time when we were talking, and she said something, she's like, you just gotta let those things go. And I was like, how? How? I physically don't know how, or I would have.
Yeah.
Because I
don't have that tool or that skill.
I don't want to obsess. Like, obsession is not something I want to do. I want to be able to go, I want to be that person who can go, you know, I wrote down, I sent an email with an idea for a show to us at one point, and I'm going to use the term now, and we still may do down the road, which was something I kind of got from the way Heno said something on Angela's Awesome podcast, which is, you know, we talked about happy-ish, and I was like, you know, oblivious is a word to me, because it's that, almost like that deliberate naivety, you know, like you just, it's just like, I wish I could do that. I wish I could just go, even though the logical answer is beating you over the head, I wish I could just ignore it. I wish I could just ignore it and be okay where I'm at and move forward, because my life would be so much easier.
And it's okay with the subpar answers.
Yeah.
And that just,
and I can't live with that. I was not brought up that way.
Yeah.
That you do, like I always said, you know, my dad was one that I heard him say so many times, I don't know why everyone has time to do it again, but never time to do it right the first time.
Exactly.
And that's my mindset. And I know maybe in the worst way, maybe that's led to some of my issues with control and obsession. And
right.
But it's like, geez, it's just, I'm the same way. I want it done right. I don't care if it takes you a little longer. I want it done right. Mm-hmm. I don't want to have to go back and fix it later. And the problem is, a lot of these companies, they want you to work in that kind of vague area, to where it's like, well, let's just kind of do this, and then we'll deal with it if it becomes a problem. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, but we can make sure it's not a problem if we just do it right. And you know, and it's like, you know, so, yeah. I fully understand.
And that's, so, you know, we'll
but like I said, I don't know how to let those things go. Maybe that would be a great topic for a show. Maybe I need to do some research on that, or talk to my therapist and see what she says. And
we can watch Disney.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing.
They have a whole song about that.
I'm not going to lie. Distraction is the only thing that ever works for me. And the problem is, I can't go through life on distractions. Mm-hmm. I can't just go play video games. I can't go read comic books or whatever. Like, I can't do that. At some point, I have to do other things. Like, you actually have to do work.
Yes.
You know, you can't just be sitting at work and go, I feel like watching cartoons, you know, and just do it. It's,
right.
You know.
But what you can do, and what I what I have done.
And what I have do is...
I have a window.
What I have do is learns my vocabulary.
I am a fortunate person. I am the only one in our group that has a window.
Yeah.
Granted, the window is high up, so all I can see is the sky.
Yeah.
But on the good part, I can see the sky.
Yeah.
So I can watch the clouds go by.
Well, again, it's an Office Space thing when he kicks down or takes down the wall of his cubicle so he can see outside.
Yeah. So I have my little window, and I can sit there, and my window is right above my computer. Yeah. So I don't even have to look like, you know, people don't have to even know that I'm necessarily doing it.
Right. Is you just have this odd look on your face while you're staring out the window?
No, because I'm in the corner.
Oh, right.
So people can't see my face. They just see the back of my head, and maybe they see it at a little bit of a higher angle. Right. That's about it. And so, which is kind of cool. Yeah. So I'll just look outside for a little bit, do my breathing, you know, my exhaling with purpose.
Right.
You know, and kind of get my head back together. And, you know, I have my little moments where I have to, like, I have to do it.
Yeah,
well, it's spit stuff out.
When I worked at Hollywood Video, we had an outside drop box. It was literally outside of the building, out in the parking lot. We had to walk out and empty, which was the dumbest thing for safety reasons and a whole mess of stuff. But anyway, when I would, a lot of times I'd be working with someone else, and most of the people I work with smoked. So I'd let them go get it because they'd go outside and have a cigarette while they were doing it. And every once in a while I'd be like, hey, I'm going to get this one. And they'd say something. I'd be like, listen, you're not supposed to get a smoke break. You get one. This is my smoke break. You know, like, you know, hell, I'll put a cigarette in my mouth, not light it, but I'll just put it in my mouth and act or something if that's what I have to do. But, you know, I'm kidding. But That's why I used to do that, was just get outside for a minute, just change the environment, But that's the thing is, like, it is really difficult to, when you realize how well distractions work, they can be dangerous, though, because, honestly, when I'm at peace is when I've probably got about 4 or 5 beers in me. My head calms down. Everything seems fine. I don't worry. I'm not stressed. My anxiety doesn't kick up. But I can't go around on 4 or 5 beers all the time. You know what I mean? It's like, That's no good. So that's why I said, that's not something I can do. But it works. That's the part that stinks, is it works for me. Like, I know once I get to that point, I'm usually good. Like, and I'm not even talking getting drunk. I'm just, it's enough that, like in the old days, you hit a shot of whiskey to take the edge off or whatever. Yeah. It's that idea. And I hate that it works. But I know that's a lot of reason why a lot of people with anxiety use medicinal marijuana.
Sure.
Because it does that. It takes the edge off for you. It dulls it. But, yeah, I don't know. It's, yeah.
Yeah, it is what it is, and it sucks, but we are getting through it, and that's the key, is, you just got to keep focusing on the good stuff, the positives, and speaking of focusing on the positives, Mr. Grinch, today's topic is, I'm going to call it the Holiday Gratitude List. What makes you happy? And what are you grateful for at this time of year? We're including the New Year and Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa.
So the whole holiday season.
Yeah.
Just do that.
Let's just say the last 2 weeks of December.
Well, if you do the last 2 weeks of December, you're kind of cutting Hanukkah out.
Sorry.
But...
All right. The month of December.
Yeah, there you go.
What are
let's just call it the holiday season. Let's just go with that.
The holiday gratitude list.
Yeah.
I will start us off because I know you need a moment to think, because I know you struggle with that.
Yeah.
My gratitude list begins with something as simple as I feel closest to my grandma.
Yeah.
My grandmother didn't die around the holidays, but we always had some very strong holiday traditions. And every Christmas, regardless of how I feel, we always used to make candy together. And ever since she passed away, even before she passed away, every December I make candy.
Yep.
And I give candy away as a gift. And I don't feel like it. I don't want to some years. In fact, it's because I feel like it's a major chore. But every year I bring it upon myself. I'm like, no, I am doing this. I cannot skip a year.
Yeah.
And I get myself off my butt. I go down to the candy store. I get my stuff. Sometimes I invite people to do it with me. Sometimes I do it by myself, depending upon my mood. And it always reminds me of my grandma, because every time I do it, I hear her voice in my head.
Yeah.
And the funny part is, I don't hear the sweet, loving grandma, which she absolutely was in many, many places. I hear my grandmother going, do you think that one has a little too much chocolate on it? I think that one might have a little too much chocolate on it. I think you need to make sure that you're dipping that extra, slow, just to make sure that it drips off enough. And maybe that decoration, do you really think you need all that decoration on that one?
Right.
That's the grandma I hear in my voice.
The micromanager.
Every time it makes me laugh, because that's what I hear in the back of my head. And the best part about it is it's a huge reminder, especially when I have someone else working with me, because I hear my grandma in the back of my head and my shoulder here. She's whispering in my ear going, they're not doing it right. They're doing this. And it makes me laugh even harder, because I'm like, you know what? It's such a lesson for me in understanding and patience,
right,
and love.
Right.
Well,
and not to mention, if you're doing it with somebody else and it's not exactly the way she did it, it isn't that you've ruined a tradition or anything like that. That's just what it is. It's what it's become. It's it's a tradition and transition, if you will. It's become your tradition now, no matter whether it's you or someone else. It's so there's nothing. I actually talked about, I was on Green Up podcast for their holiday special. We recorded it last night, and Ryan asked us, like what our traditions were in our family, and I told him about how growing up, my dad used to read The Night Before Christmas, which is, as I described it on there, a very non-PC version that I will not read because it's not appropriate in 2015, basically.
Yes.
In a lot of ways. And, but it was something that I remember when I was a real little kid that I wasn't allowed to listen to it. And then as I got older, it was like, it's just words, basically, And then, it transitioned from there into when my dad used to read in, Double Dutch. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how to describe that to people if they don't know.
ABTY? In between,
no,
after every vowel?
It's, it's after every vowel you put IB, I believe. Because, like, my dad would always say his name is...
Y, too.
No, my dad would say his name is Wybodaibi. Or Wybodaibi. That'd be an I and a B after each. Yeah, so even though I don't think that's quite... But anyway. So, what amazed me about that was how he would do that off script.
Yeah.
Like, he wouldn't even have it in front of him, and he would just recite the thing in Double Dutch. And I'm just sitting there going, how do you remember... Like, remembering the whole night, thing is one thing, because he's done it enough times, I don't question that so much. But it's just like, how do you do that in the Double Dutch and not really mess up? And then just when he would just randomly talk to people and he would start doing it, he'd be like, give me a second, and then he would, and just start. And he would have a conversation with you in it, and it's, like I said on there, my sisters wanted me to kind of read the thing off, and I was like, no. I was like, first of all, it's not appropriate anymore, and second of all, I don't think I could. I'm pretty sure if I started to, I would break down.
Yeah.
Because most of the time, even thinking about it, like even as I move stuff around, every once in a while I'll stumble on the paper where he wrote it down, and I just start to lose it. It just, I was like, nope. And honestly, it isn't that it's my tradition, but it's just like, I don't want anyone else to do it either. Like, if anyone does it, it's like, I kind of want it to be me, but I don't want to do it.
You want it to be that moment between you and your dad.
I think that's what it is. And like I said, it isn't even that it's mine. All of us have experienced it.
Right. But
like even you experienced it.
Yes.
In the time we've known each other, he did it. So it's just funny how, but it's like, to me, it's like mine,
And there is something to be said about that at Christmas, is it's almost like you do have that privilege of doing that, of doing the minds.
Yeah.
Because for me, my next one on my gratitude list is my tree. Yeah. And my tree, I don't care who else lives in the house with me. I don't care what I'm sharing. You could have your ornaments, but it is my tree.
Yeah.
My ornaments, my tree. My brother helps me every year put up my tree.
Yep.
And
that's why it worked great when we were together, because I have no interest in putting up like, I'm fine with the tree.
Yeah.
I just don't want to go through the effort. And, you're like, my brother's coming up. I'm like, awesome. I can just sit here while you guys do all the work.
Every Friday after Thanksgiving, every Black Friday, he comes over. We put up the tree. We put up my decorations. And all is right in the world.
Right.
That is the start of my Christmas season.
Right.
And, but it's so funny. I don't take care of my jewelry as well as I take care of my ornaments.
That is absolutely true.
Yes. And I have some really beautiful, expensive jewelry. Way more expensive. One of my rings that I own could buy me multiple trees with the ornaments that I have on these trees.
Right.
So, it's not a monetary value. But every year, I lovingly unwrap each and every ornament from their individual boxes, get hung on the tree, and every year they come off the tree, go back in their original boxes, original packaging, and they are put into a big container that is completely locked, so no moisture can get into it, and put up on the shelf, nice and neat and tidy.
Right.
I am not a neat and tidy person, people.
No.
Not even close to being neat and tidy, except when it comes to my ornaments. And my tree, my ornaments.
Yep.
Mine. So.
Yeah.
So that's the other one. So, all right. What else are you grateful for this year?
Well,
this time of year.
I'm always thankful for my mom, you know, and because no matter what's happened, there's never been a point where she's shunned me or turned me away or anything. And I know, people listen, oh, that's what moms are supposed to do. And it's like,
not really. Not what they.
I don't know.
You
don't know if you like my mom is the most selfless woman I've ever met. Like, I don't know a person that I haven't. I've met other people that are very selfless, but not to the level that I've seen her go.
Yeah.
And it never changes, no matter how much money she has. If she has a nickel, it's yours. If she has $1,000, she would give it to you. Kind of if you really needed the help.
I hate to say it, but she's the type of person that people write parables about.
Yeah. And on top of it, her and I have our issues and stuff, but it's especially after losing my dad, instead of just being, woe is me, I lost my dad, I'm also incredibly thankful that I still have my mom, because there are a lot of people out there who don't have either parent.
Yep.
And as mad as it makes me when I hear somebody gripe about their dad, and I have to bite my tongue because I always want to go, you still have your dad, shut up,
Right.
But again, it's just like with the depression and other stuff. It's that constant. You and talk of the Rolodex thing, bringing it back up. The one, like, there's times where there's only one message on the Rolodex, but I keep spinning it, and it's not a competition.
Yes,
it's not a competition.
Absolutely.
Although I will say, I was in a group chat yesterday, and there was somebody who just kept going on and on about their dad. And I'm just sitting there, and I'm going... And after a while, I was like, it's really tough this time of year to not have a parent. So for those of us who don't have dads anymore, could you maybe shut up? I was like, because I really want to put you in your place, and that's the nicest I can say it to you right now. Mm-hmm. And that's not very nice, but that's the nicest way I can say it to you, because I really want to snap and go off on you for... how thankful you should be.
Yeah.
I don't care if you fight like cats and dogs with your parents. It's like, you still have them. Be thankful you still have them.
And they're in your life.
Yeah, exactly. Unless you have a horrible relationship, like a physical abuse relationship or some...
Sure.
Obviously I'm not going to... But again...
There's extenuating circumstances in every situation.
And again, it's not a contest, but it's like, just be aware of who you're around sometimes. It's... I posted a tweet the other day off a little bit here that was like, my depression, or I can't get out of bed most days because of my depression, but please tell me more about how much you need your fucking coffee. And it's like, I'm so tired of everybody, I can't do anything without my coffee.
Yeah.
It's like, I'll trade you. I hate coffee. If someone told me tomorrow drinking a cup of coffee every morning will cure your depression, I would become the biggest fan of coffee ever.
But it's not a competition.
It's not a competition. I know.
It's not a competition.
But it's hard.
I know. It's hard, very hard, especially sometimes not to make it so.
Listen, we all drag in the morning. I get it. But it's like, It's just after a while, you're just like, all right, enough, man. It's, like, come on. Some people literally can't get out of bed. And I don't mean depression. I mean, can't get out of bed. Someone has to move them out of bed, or it's like, and again, I know I'm not trying to, it could be worse, but it's just the idea. It's like, just, if you have the ability to not be miserable or upset or down, don't be.
Yeah.
If you can help it, that's another story, but if you can help it, choose the other way.
You have the gratitude list.
Yes.
So, and like you said, you're grateful for your mother.
Yeah.
And I'm
all
grateful.
She's done for me.
Yeah. And along those lines, I'm very grateful for my family. And not just my blood relatives, but my entire family, the people that I have chosen to be my family, as well as those that are naturally given to me as my family. Right. Their unconditional love and support, it boggles my mind, because there's times that I do not earn it, I do not deserve it, and they give it to me anyways.
Right.
One time, because Thanksgiving's kind of a tough one for me, because I have a few different things happening right in a row.
Right.
So it becomes a little difficult. So a lot of times the last thing on the last party I need to go to, I normally can't do.
Yeah. And
especially with my mom not being in town, because my mom was always kind of a good security blanket for me.
Yeah.
And so if she wasn't going to be there and stuff, it gets a little difficult. And my brother, I love him to death, but my brother is not known for his gracefulness in he's just really, really honest.
Yeah.
And he told my aunt, because I couldn't go one year because it was just too much. So when my aunt asked, "Oh, Jen couldn't make it," it's like, "Yeah, she just said it was just too much." It's like, dude, you couldn't just say I had a headache. You couldn't, cover for me.
You know what, though? In fairness, that is all you should be able to tell anybody that at any time, and there should never be a follow up.
Yeah, you're right.
There never should be, but there always is. And it's like I can't remember. I've seen this countless times. This meme that says like something. I think it's like the word no shouldn't be an invitation for a follow-up question or something like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't remember how it's worded, but
yeah.
And I was like, yeah, don't get me wrong, there are times where it does, certainly, but or if someone just says I can't, you should just accept it. Mm-hmm. It is difficult to do, but you should just accept it.
Yeah, the only time like I can't, I always kind of question people a little bit. I'm like, can't or won't.
Yeah, but see, the problem with that is that really is being judgmental.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And I try not to.
Because to you, what is a can't...
But that's the thing. I want to understand, like, because there's a difference. Mm-hmm. There is a difference, and just because you say you can't do something, doesn't mean that you can't. I mean, I accept that. Yeah. If you say you can't do it, I may think you can, but it doesn't matter. Yeah. If you say you can't, you can't.
Right.
But
again, a lot of people don't want to say I won't do that because
because then that means they're making that active decision, and they don't want to make an active decision that's not going to be approved by the people they're around.
Right.
So I know there's a lot more to it. But to kind of finish what I was saying, so my brother told my aunt that it was just too much, and I just couldn't go. Mm. And so she shot me an email later, and she said, "Just so you know, I completely understand, and if you ever need me to, I'll even meet you outside, and I'll walk in with you, and whatever you need." She's like, I'm always here for you. Yeah. And it just means the world that, again, it's...
Well, yeah, because most people won't do anything like they won't. A lot of people won't even meet you halfway or try to. Right. It's like if you, hey, are you coming to whatever? And you're like, no. And well, why not? And even if it's, totally, hey, whatever. And you're just like, look, it's too many people, mm-hmm. my anxiety, blah, blah, whatever. Mm-hmm. Or I've had to do this, I've gone to 3 things already. My nerves are kind of shot from that. I just, I don't want to ruin anybody's night, whatever. And a lot of times people, oh, you're not going to, and they just dismiss your answer, and then they try to, mm-hmm. they're trying to comfort you, but they don't realize how dismissive it is. And that's a problem that a lot, and I mean, I do it, you've done it, everybody's done it. It's really hard not to, but it's something that it gets magnified when you're the person who's on the side of the anxiety or whatever,
It makes me smile because a friend of mine who's had a lot of problems with pregnancy and trouble getting pregnant and staying pregnant, and so she's had a lot of heartache, and a lot of pain and struggle through the whole thing, and she's mentioned, she's like, how come when when someone shares something, people feel the need to share their stories back at them.
I just talked about this. Yes. Was that a week ago or the week before?
It's like sometimes you just want someone to listen to you and not give their side of the story, not give their experiences. Yeah.
But you can't say that to somebody.
Right, exactly.
Because it'd be like, no, I'm going to talk and you're going to shut up.
Right. Sometimes you just want them to listen and go, yeah, that sucks. Yeah. You just need that person just to listen. Yeah. It was just really funny because, I mean, again, it's one of those things that we all do that we don't even think about doing it. We think we are comforting them going, you're not alone.
Exactly. Yep.
You're not alone in this, that, other people are involved in this with you and that type of thing, and the camaraderie. And it's like, no, I want to be selfish right now. I want to have my pity party, and I want you to listen to every darn word of what I have to say.
Absolutely.
And, it's like, what? Everyone's entitled to those moments too.
Yeah, we all need that sometimes because there's so many times you go to tell somebody, and it doesn't matter if it's your your parent, your best friend, whatever, and you're just like, God, I just need to vent, and they're like, oh yeah, you can vent to me anytime, and you're like, oh, this, and then they're like, oh yeah, the same thing happened to me, and blah. And it's like, I just need to, It's
Yeah,
like,
I don't need yours too. I need to get mine off of me.
Can we do a thing where I'm basically saying, can you not be so selfish? Because I'd like to talk. Like it's like, can you not be selfish? I want to be selfish.
Yeah, it's my turn to be selfish. Gosh darn it!
That's why I said it's so hard, because that's at the core of it. What you're wanting, is you're wanting someone else to be selfless, so you can be selfish. But it's hard to not be selfish, or even when you're trying to be selfless, and it's like it's coming from a good place. So most of the time, you don't put any any ill feelings toward it. But it's still like, just once in a while, just let me talk.
Well, and as Hanno has said, sometimes you got to reset the rules.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've done that before, where I've told people, I'm like, I just need to vent. I'm not looking for you to solve.
Yeah.
I just need to get this all out of my head, out of my
system. I'm not looking for advice or anything.
I
just
need someone to listen to me kind of dump all of this, and then we can move on to happier, funner things.
Right.
But I just need to dump right now.
Yeah.
And people are pretty receptive. If they know you, if they care about you, they're pretty receptive of it.
And especially if you don't come across as standoffish when delivering that kind of message,
right?
If you're like, "Hey, I really need to talk," it's like I don't really need advice or anything. I just need to blah blah. Kind of like if you essentially approach it from a vulnerable position, I think people tend to be better, more receptive of it. Whereas if you're just like, "Look, I got to talk, or I need to get this off my chest. I need you to just be quiet." And not offer, it's like, now you're like, whoa. Like, put me in my place. I haven't even done anything,
Yeah.
So then they're defensive, and, that's why I said, if you approach it from a vulnerable,
gotta be the right thing and the right person and stuff.
Yeah.
But, yes, I'm very thankful for my family, and I'm very, very thankful for my soon-to-be new family, because they're pretty darn amazing, especially a couple cousins. They're just amazing, amazing women. And I've had a struggle a good portion of my life finding really amazing women to be friends with and to hang out with. And I've had a couple throughout the years that have just made very big impacts and have been amazing friends and amazing women to me. But nothing like I'm experiencing right now.
Well, and it's also, they're taking you in, like, they don't have to be.
No, not
anything
at all.
to you. They have no responsibility. I mean, it makes things easier if you guys get along.
Yeah.
But they don't have to get along with you for, any reason or whatever. So, and a lot of times, sometimes people just don't click. So if you do click, that's great. It makes that whole transition a lot easier.
Because, the sister-in-laws are wonderful, but it's just not the same. I mean, just the cousins, especially his one cousin, Desiree, we've just been, we just really click, and it's just been absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
So, amazing, amazing woman. And I'm just so very fortunate to have her in my life, and of course my friend Lauren, and just these amazing, amazing women.
Yeah.
I haven't seen a lot of them in my life, and when you do see them, outside of course my family, 'cause my mom, my aunts, and whatnot, but when you see them outside of your traditional expectations of where you would normally see them, it just really hits you home, and it's like, wow, I want to have that. I want to have that strength. I want to have that power that they possess.
Yeah.
And I want to emulate that. So it's just been amazing to have that type of role models come into my life.
Yeah. That's cool. Yeah.
So how about you? What else? There's got to be more.
Yeah, there is. It's the friends I've made through podcasting.
Good.
Because, for something that, I wanted to do originally, was to, set the podcast so that it was kind of something for me to be accountable for, and to that each week I would, meet that goal and whatnot. And it just the people that, we've met, and even though I haven't met most of them in person, it's still awesome how so many, have checked in on me, like, hey, just out of nowhere, just how are you, kind of a thing, and not in a just, let's make small talk, but in a genuine, like, hey, I listened to the new podcast. Are you doing okay? Kind of a thing. Or even people on Twitter, even in the same thing. You know, some of the ones I made friends with kind of on there, you know, we'll read some stuff sometimes and they'll be like, are you doing all right? Like, you know, you seem, you know, and, you know, it's just amazing how you can have people you've never met in your life reach out to you more than people in your life.
Right.
You know, it is
pretty
and
amazing.
I don't mean friends in life, but I'm meaning more like, you know, like my family reaches out to me less than people on social media do. I know it's easier, but yet that technology's out there for everyone.
True.
You know what I mean? So you can't really dismiss one group because of it if another group could also access it. So it's, you know what I mean? So it's like, so it's pretty cool. Like I said, you know, just the friends I made, the support system online, you know, people in Australia, Canada, England, you know, it's just amazing how we've met in various parts of this country.
How global we've become.
Yeah, just how, and some of these people are people that if I have grown to where I actually consider them like legit friends. Like I care about them. Like if I don't talk to them for a while, I want to contact them. It's not the casual acquaintance that a lot of people, you know, it's easy to become casual acquaintances with social media, you know.
Sure.
But there's just people that you care about. Like you don't see posts from them on Twitter in a while or something. And you're like, boy, you know, I wonder if they're okay. So you send them a message or something. You know, it's like that kind of a thing. So, yeah.
That's awesome. That's a great one.
It also helps for the sake of the podcast. That kind of adds to the support system.
Absolutely.
You
That's
know.
what I was just thinking. I'm like, wow, what a great extended support system. You know?
Well, and especially with the hours I keep.
Yep.
Because a lot of people are, you know, like there's been times where really late at night, which is when things tend to be difficult, you know. Like I've talked with, you know, our buddy Oz, you know, he's from Australia. You know, I've talked to him late at night and stuff because for him it's morning. You know,
yeah,
he's having
he's
having his morning coffee, and I'm, you know, I'm going through a rough night. You know, and it's that kind of a thing. So it's pretty awesome.
That is really, really awesome. Another thing I'm incredibly thankful for, and I'm very grateful for, is I've got a very supportive partner in my life. You know, and he's amazing with understanding and trying to adapt to me as well as I adapt to him.
Yeah.
You know, and he doesn't take things for granted.
Right.
You know, and he appreciates the efforts that it takes sometimes for me to do the simple things.
Yeah.
You know, like the other day I got an urge because laundry's just been out of control, like completely out of control.
Yeah.
And to the point where you're kind of like looking around going, this clean, not clean, you know?
I am so surprised at some point that I haven't heard you say the words laundry service.
It's
You know,
been tempted.
Where you just drop off the laundry at a laundromat and you just go pick it up when it's done or something. Yeah.
So I'm like, yeah, it was bad. And so I did the laundry and then I made dinner as well. And so I texted him because he was at work and I'm like, hey, I did dinner. You have this for tomorrow. And, your clothes are in the dryer. So when you get home, you can just, grab them out of there, whatever.
Yeah.
And he responds to me, he's like, that's my girl, and so some people can be placating, and it's but it's not. It's the way he's meaning it is, that's his get 'em boy,
Yeah.
it's his attaboy,
Yeah.
him cheering me on. And yes, these are things that should be expected, in certain aspects.
Yeah.
Not because I'm a woman,
Right.
but because that's how our household runs.
Yeah.
Because he works at night, I'm at home, it just makes sense. So, he doesn't yell because the laundry's not done. He supports me and cheers me on when it does get done.
Yeah.
Which is a huge, huge, huge thing. And I know it can be very frustrating, as we've talked about before, living with someone and dealing with someone with mental illness.
Yeah.
It can be very, very, very frustrating.
Oh, yeah. I'm absolutely sure. And that's a show somewhere down the road that's going to happen.
Yes.
That's when that's one of the ones I wanted to put some thought and work into before we just straight out do it. Because of, wanting to get feedback and input maybe from outside sources to kind of really, get a better picture.
Understand being in a relationship or being a friend or
Yeah, just anything.
yeah,
Just,
in a relationship with someone who's got mental illness.
Yep.
So, but yeah, he's notoriously bad temper. He's lost his temper with me once, and it was for all of 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And then he took a step away, got himself together, came back, apologized for getting as mad as he did, and losing his temper with me and making me upset.
Yeah.
I was in the wrong. There was like no gray area. I was wrong. I openly admitted I was wrong.
Right.
It was, there was not one of those like arguments. He got really upset with me over something, rightfully so.
Yeah.
But 5 minutes, walked away, got himself together, came
Right.
back and took it. This is a man that's been known to punch windows, punch walls in his younger days.
Right.
And because of how he cares and he wants to take care of me, he goes to these extents. So
Right.
I'm very grateful.
Which is for the
that.
best. I mean, even if you think you have any sort of rage issues,
Yes.
if you dismiss yourself from a situation, remove yourself to the other room or outside or whatever, it's just, that way there's no chance of anything wrong happening. Not that I'm implying there would be, but this way you make sure there's zero chance,
Exactly. And that's why I will never chase somebody.
Yeah, right.
But, if I'm going to argue with someone and they walk away, I let them.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Just be like, you can run, but the argument's going to be here when you get home.
Right.
No.
Pretty much. It'd be right here waiting for you.
Yeah.
But no, it's,
I'm going to blow your phone up the whole time you're gone, too. Yeah.
So, how about you?
It's kind of similar to the last one, but just, overall, like, just the support system that I have.
Yeah.
Because I know that, like, when I've told my therapist about, friends and people online reaching out to me and my mom and stuff, that, she's like, wow, you have a really good support system in place. And I'm like, I do. I really know. I fully understand that there are a lot of people who don't. And that's why, we always point out on the show, if you need to talk to somebody to, like reach out to us or whatever, because I understand there's some people who, listen, the nature of the beast of depression is that your brain tells you aren't good enough.
And you need to isolate.
And isolation is the only answer because everybody is against you. You're being judged. So I fully get it. There's so many days that even with the amazing support system I have, I honestly, and our friend Monica, her and I hadn't talked to her in a while. And in my head, I was like, I gotta message her because she's a friend. She's not an acquaintance. She is a friend, and so much of a friend and so much of a good person that, I barely knew her when my dad died. And when I was up at night when everybody else was sleeping, she would talk to me until her then boyfriend, now husband, got home, and her husband's a friend of mine too, so I don't want anyone thinking there's any shenanigans, but her and I would talk, and she would just let me sound, like she would be that soundboard, and different times, and she's had people, with depression, and she's had, knows people who've killed themselves, and so she's got a lot of perspective, and so her and I talked for a while, it was about a week or so ago, and it was really good to talk to her again, because I don't like that I do that, and I realize that I do it. Like I push people away without meaning to, or I just don't put the effort in.
Yeah.
And even though, everything's a two-way street and whatever, and like with her and I, we both understand our lives and stuff. We both understand busy and different things, and sometimes you just don't connect like you'd like to. But when we do, it's right back to it. You know what I mean? It's like you can tell there's no pretension. We're both, and it's that kind of a thing. Is you realize that even with her, she's like, how are you doing? Blah, blah. And she's wanting me to in-depth tell her. She wants to know. She genuinely is asking me, how are you?
She doesn't want just the good. Fines.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, not too bad. Oh, good. Here's how I've been.
Like, no.
Yeah. She's like, how's this going? How's this going? It's, that's what I mean it's, those are the kind of people that, even though, honestly, in real life, her and I've only hung out a few times because she came to America and lived with John for a short time, and then they moved to Canada. So, we didn't hang out a whole lot in the middle of that. So, but like I said, it's just part of that overall support system that's just an amazing thing, and I can't say enough for, Tony and his wife, and T and you, and it just there's just so many people who I feel that at any time I could pick up a phone, call them, text them, whatever, and they would be like, hey, that's no good, let's see what we can do about that, kind of a thing, so that.
Well, and one I think probably is going to be my last one, because I think we're running long, but one thing I think we can both agree on, the most wonderful part of this entire season, pie. Duh. Pumpkin pie, pecan pie, apple pie.
Yeah.
Oh, and Kolachki. Oh. Kolachki, folks.
That's more you than me.
I know.
Yeah.
Nobody loves Kolachki as much as I do.
Well, you have sensentimental tie to it, too, which always is going to add to it,
And I know that does.
Mm-hmm.
It's, for those of you who don't know, Kolachki, kiflis, krishtiki, all of these are they're pastries from the Slovakian, Hungarian, Polish parts of the world.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a dough that's made from lots of butter, lots and lots and lots of pounds of butter. And I'm not kidding when I say
you're
pounds.
not. Yeah.
Yes, pounds of butter layered in this pastry dough. It makes this really light, flaky pastry. And then there's jams or nut fillings.
Yeah.
So you'll see them in the shape of stars or bars or,
Yeah.
And then they're covered in powdered sugar, and they're just fabulous with a good cup of coffee in the morning. Just saying. Only time of year I get them because my wonderful cousin makes them, because I am way too lazy to make it something like that. It's like 2+ days of work. Not happening.
It's funny, though, because the candy that you make is generally multiple days of work, too.
You're right. It is.
Like, really, wouldn't, to do both is a lot.
Oh, yeah. Well, and I couldn't even imagine doing Kolachki. Everyone keeps telling me, they're like, oh, I'll do it with you. Yeah. I'm like, it's a lot of rolling and buttering and rolling and buttering. And...
No, it's the old school women.
Yes.
Yes. The ones that, were the stay-at-home women, and they did this kind of stuff. And,
right.
The ones that if they started wielding a rolling pin, you should be afraid, because they probably have pretty good upper body strength from all that rolling.
I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But, yes, pie and Kolachki. How about you?
It's funny, because I love that stuff too, but I don't know.
That's a sad place to be when your depression gets in the way of you and pie.
No, I still love it. It's just the idea. I don't know. Obviously I'm thankful for it when it's there and stuff. I do like it. Mm-hmm. I like it when it's actually like homemade, though.
Oh, absolutely. It's got to be.
The problem is that a lot of times the stuff I go to, it's store-bought stuff, and it's like saying you want a great hamburger and you go to McDonald's. You know what I mean? It's like,
are you listening, Jeannie?
No, I don't even have to. She doesn't need to.
Just so you know, if you're listening,
she already knows.
Bryan needs a pie.
Yeah, she knows how much I enjoy pie.
For those of you out there, Tony's wife, Jeannie, is one of the most amazing bakers that we've experienced in our lives. Yeah. I can't say in the world because I have no idea. All I can say in my life, in my small world, right. She is the epitome of the bakers.
That's why I kind of said the homemade stuff, because, she's kind of spoiled me in ways from others. So, it's like I love that stuff, but it's weird because, even like the family dinner and stuff that used to be, you'd look forward to, oh man, I can't wait to have the ham and all. I just don't. Like last night we were talking with Ryan, and he said they go and get a brisket, and a local barbecue place will smoke it for them for their family thing. And I was like, that sounds so awesome. Like, that sounds way better. Like, we're doing enchiladas and stuff like that this year, because we've started doing stuff like that rather than, because we always used to do sloppy joes.
Well, and it's like all of that's like traditional, everyday kind of food, which is wonderful and tasty and good, but it's not the unique special foods that you only get once a year.
And that's my thing is I think like ham, we get ham and eat it throughout the year. Yeah. Turkey, I don't really, me, I'm not really a big turkey fan. So it's like, like if somebody was like, hey, I'm bringing a brisket over, I'd be like, sweet.
Yeah. I think that's the thing. It's the novelty.
It's so different. Yeah, that's what Ryan said. They did it for a different tradition. And I was like, that's so awesome. Like, I love that, that people are looking outside of that. And it's like, like when I heard for Thanksgiving, Jeannie and Tony talked about, they always have kielbasa, like, Stanley's and stuff. And I'm like, it's like, it's so tempting to kind of be like, we should do that here, because that was when I bowled. That was like the best part was at the end, they had their banquet, which was usually like a cold cut tray basically. And then kielbasa, and you had to get in line quick because if you didn't, it'd be gone. Cause there's a local place that makes them that makes fantastic stuff.
Which you can get at Kroger's now, by the way.
Yeah, I know. And, it was, and that stuff would go so fast. Like, they actually went to where the last time I was in for it, they had somebody there, portioning it. Because he had too many people at the beginning, like, loading a plate with it. And then guys at the end are like, man, there's none left. So, yeah, it's, I guess the food, but at the same time, I don't know. I think I've tried to distance myself as much as I can in ways from food being a comfort to me.
I understand that too.
I think
I was kind of being a little unjust as well.
Yeah, I think that's part of why I'm becoming kind of about it, because in a lot of ways I'm like, I don't want to tie food to my emotions. I've been trying hard
That's very healthy,
to not do that, and so I don't know. It's, I guess, and this is going to seem really ridiculous, maybe not to you, it won't, but to a lot of people, I guess the last thing I'll say is my cat.
I was actually going to say my cat too. Yeah.
And the reason for it is there's so many times when I'm down and she'll just crawl up in my lap, like she just, picks the right time sometimes. And it's funny how sometimes stuff she does will be the highlight of my day. Like there's days where that's how bad my day is that my cat, like the way she acts toward me or something like that will be the highlight of the day, you know? And so, yeah. And, it really stinks that my cat's like 20 years old because I know that there's a bad day coming.
Yeah.
But
she's a very special cat.
Yeah.
She's a very sweet cat when she wants to be to the right person.
Well, I think that's why I like her so much is that she isn't.
Yes. And she doesn't have any teeth anymore. And she hisses with a lisp.
Yeah.
Which is fabulous.
She kind of half spits when she
it's the funniest thing ever. You hear this thing. I mean, it's awesome. Absolutely awesome. Yeah. Maybe one of these days we'll pick her up and I'll bring her in here because because I'm sure that if we put her on mic, she'd probably hiss at the mic.
She might.
No, knowing us, we want her to hiss at the mic and she won't do anything. It was
like when we took her to the vet, and we're like we're all worried about how she's going to be, and she's perfect on the ride over. Take her into the vet, and she's perfect, pretty much, like other than being a little scared.
She got a gold freaking star.
And we're like, she's probably going to hiss, and she's going to run, and she might swat at you. She has no front claws, so there's no she almost is no danger. She has her back claws.
Yeah.
If she can get those on you, she can still get you, and she has like one of her fang teeth.
Yeah.
That's about all she has left.
So, I mean, as long as you avoid those two hot areas, you're great.
Yeah. Even the tooth, she's square on got me once, and I'm like, wow, cat, you really got nothing left, huh?
Yeah. Doesn't even break skin.
Yeah. Well, there was a spot on my hand. You could tell where she did, but it didn't break skin.
But I mean, we took her to the vet. Gold star, perfect kitty.
Yeah, she was so good, and
she was so sweet, so nice. We're looking at it, and she's hissing at us.
Yeah.
It's like, what?
Yeah.
So, yeah. But yeah, and my boys. I absolutely adore my boys, and I wouldn't give either one of them away for anything. They're the sweetest. I don't know if I'd say
that. The money's right.
The money's right.
I'll give you $50 million for your cats.
All right, maybe.
Okay. Like, how about 25 for one of them?
Like, can I keep one?
No package deal.
I do absolutely love my boys and what they bring to my life.
Yeah.
So, if only they could do laundry.
Yeah.
Well, that being said, I'm going to have to start doing an apologia because I keep apologizing for stuff. But in this particular episode, if you've heard my phone going off, I do apologize because it's been vibrating next to me quite a lot. And that's because I've joined the Salty Podcast Kick Group.
I told you to mute it.
I did not listen. And there's a conversation going on that must be quite lively.
Right.
Because
There's very few people in it, but it's very active when it's active.
my phone's been next to me going bzz, 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 bzz,
Yeah.
like rattling off the table.
Right.
So,
Like I said, I'm in a group that's got like 40-some people that's less active than that one that has like 11 or 12.
yeah, it's like a dozen people, but they are constantly chatting with each other,
Yep.
which is fabulous.
Yeah.
Exactly what it needs to be. And
Yeah.
I can be a complete voyeur and just watch.
Yeah.
All that good stuff. So, that being said, if you want to continue the conversations with me, and I truly hope that you do, please look me up on Twitter at Jen's Crazy Life. You can also reach us to the Crazy Life Podcast .weebly.com. You can also write us an email at thecrazylifepodcast@outlook.com. And Brian, how can they get in touch with you?
You can also follow the show on the Crazy Life Pod on Twitter. You can follow me on Twitter at Stunami. And you can find the other podcast of mine, Salty Language, at salty_language on Twitter. Or just go to saltylanguage.com and all the links that you need are there. Trying to think. Obviously our intro song was done by our friend Heno, and you can find him on the Twitter at Ida Heno. We're also part of the Tangent Bound Network and the Wicked Radio Network, not Danger Entertainment. I'm doing my other show.
I know.
Sorry, Michael, if you heard that. I was just giving you a free plug. Michael's cool people, so if you want to go check out Danger Entertainment, go check them out too. Michael does comics and different stuff too. So it's Annalise's brother. So
It's not the same without the danger.
yeah,
Watch
I know.
yourself.
Or the one they do on. You haven't heard Graphic Novice? They did a mix of blurred lines with it that I love.
Nice.
I like theirs. And they're like, yeah, we love your guys. So it's funny because we seem to like each other's more than the one we use.
Nice.
Anyway, let's see. What else was I going to say there? I done forgot. We're not doctors, therapists, trained professionals, or counselors of any kind. We're just two people dealing with our mental illnesses and sharing our experiences and generally sharing some tips or whatever, and hopefully we can help you out. Or just give you a laugh or whatever it is that you get from the show. If you do need real help, please seek it out. Go talk to a doctor or, get therapy going. Or, and if you can't afford it or don't think you can afford it, check with your Department of Mental Health in your area or the Department of Human Services. They may be able to set you up with some sort of program to help you with that or help you find counseling of some sort. Or check to see if there's support groups or there's websites online that do support groups. And if you're in a bad situation, you're thinking about suicide, please call the suicide hotline number. Well, first of all, don't. Second of all, call the suicide hotline number, talk to a counselor there, or call 911 and tell them that you're having a mental health emergency. Or if you have someone that can take you to an emergency room, just do that and get the help that you need. Please do not take your own life.
Yes.
We know this time of year can be really depressing for some people, and this is the time of year where most suicides happen through the year. So, please don't add to that number.
Take care of yourselves. Take care of your loved ones. Hug your cat. And, as Brian coined last week, keep breathing, everybody.